Hello, everybody, and welcome to Speak Out, the OutWrite podcast. I'm your host, JQ. You can use any pronouns for me.
I'm Rainer. I use he, him pronouns.
I'm Mark. I use he, him pronouns.
I'm Emma. I use they, she, he.
I'm Brenna. I use they, she pronouns.
And today we are discussing OutWrite's new print, available on stands when this comes out.
Hopefully.
Pick it up. It is Hauntology. That is what we are discussing today. We are discussing everything that went into making that print, what we're even talking about with the concept. And I have lots of people here who worked on the print, and I didn't help at all.
True.
You were busy with other things.
Yeah.
So many other things to be doing. Yeah, exactly. Whole podcast.
So I figure we can start out just by talking about the theme, because I know someone, and I think it was you, Brenna, had some really cool stuff to say about, like, what is hauntology? What are we talking about?
Gonna be honest, the first time I put it in the prompt sheet, it was because I was like, that would be a pretty sick name for the print.
Hey,
So I was talking to Rainer, and Rainer's like, so what is hauntology? And I said, frankly, I don't know.
Fucking question.
But then we did a little bit more research. Actually, I think it was Julie who was really helpful, who did who threw some articles in the doc. But really, what hauntology means is it's kind of like it deals with time, and this sense of being kind of like haunted by the past, by things that have happened, like that we can't quite escape, but also being haunted by lost futures, like futures that could have stemmed from the past that we had, but did not. I think originally, maybe not originally, but like there was an article by Mark Fisher called like "What is Hauntology?" that talked about it in regards to like music and film. Obviously, we're talking about it more in like a everything standpoint, and definitely like a queer theory. Yes.
Sorry, quick question: is Mark Fisher the one who's like capitalist realism?
Gonna be honest, I have no clue.
Okay.
Perhaps.
No, it's fine.
Maybe.
I feel like I read an article about him one time.
It could be so. I
Is it
just
Mark
remember
with a K or a C?
Mark with a
K.
K.
Unlike our Mark.
Unlike our superior Mark.
K-punk and the futures that have never arrived? That sounds right.
That's probably him, yeah.
What was your question?
Oh, it's
I
it's
thought
the one who's
Wikipedia, I
like
was like,
capitalist realism.
What is
You know what? I
capitalism
think
realism?
so.
Oh, it's like
I think so.
the only appropriate
Yeah,
response
capitalist
to
realism.
capitalism is despair.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was him.
He's not really a happy guy.
The title of the book is Capitalist Realism, There Is No Alternative. Oh, no. Is there no alternative?
Oh, well.
Question mark? 2009.
Yeah,
There
so
definitely are.
There you go. You're right.
I wasn't a fan of his take on hauntology because it was very depressing. Like, everything that could be done has already been done. And so, in the past, we were looking towards, what the future might be like, for example, in music, like techno. And now we're still doing the same things that we were doing in the past because we haven't come up with anything new. It's just very, like, kind of nihilistic. I was like, that's...
Oh, he's a depressing guy.
Me personally, I hate depressing nihilism. I only like nihilism if it's like, nothing matters, so like, you should do whatever the fuck you want. That's the only version of it I like.
Yeah, so I definitely, when I was doing my take on hauntology, it was more of like a speculative format where it's like, what futures could we have had? But not like in a negative way, like, we can never have them, but like, what futures could we have had, and how can we work towards those, even though we're in a different place now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because Brenna's article slapped.
Thank you.
Everyone's article slapped.
No,
But yeah,
I
I
loved
did
reading that.
I did
So
an article,
cool.
it was heavily on hauntology.
Yeah.
And like queer time.
Yes, because
Yeah.
Brenna did our theoretical framework for the
Yeah,
print, which-
it was super. I
Thank
loved
you
reading it.
for doing all the research.
Yeah, it was super interesting. I loved the idea of queer time because it was not something. It was like a completely new concept to me.
I'm writing a thesis on it.
Hey, that's so cool.
You should explain what queer time is for the
Yeah.
Oh, I should explain what queer time is. Basically, it's, you'll see this if you read my article. But it's the idea that, like, queer people kind of exist outside of the cis-heteronormative, like, societal sense of time. Because we have kind of a different time frame than, like, cis and straight people. Like, especially, like, trans people with kind of, like, second puberties. But honestly, like, all queer people with, like, second puberties in terms of, like, even cis gay people haven't necessarily had the opportunity to have sort of the adolescence that, like, straight kids did. So this sense that, like, we are working on a different timeline and in a different way than everybody else. And so, like, how do we understand that? How do we unpack that? How do we make sense of that? And lots of people are trying to make sense of it. Some in depressing ways and some in cool ways.
So true.
Alright, I've been talking so much.
No,
That was good.
We need the theoretical
You're setting up the
framework.
framework.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because I feel like one of the really fun things about having hauntology as the theme is it's such an evocative word.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, on top of being a really interesting, like, theoretical sort of dry framework, we could also just, like, do articles about ghosts.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Love articles about ghosts.
Yeah, Emma.
Yeah.
You want to talk about your
Article
article about
about
ghosts?
I've got the literal interpretation, or maybe the silly interpretation, because it's a creative writing
good.
piece.
Have you considered that literal and silly are not antonyms?
Exactly. I have not
true.
considered that, and I will not.
What's your article about?
Yeah. I was thinking about how we also talked about Halloween as Halloween theme is kind of where the hauntology like stemmed from, because we were like, how can we make this like more meaningful other than just like, ooh, scary season.
Spooky, scary skeletons.
Exactly, because like first of all there was the fact that like, okay, Halloween, gay ass holiday.
True.
Gay people love Halloween, and then also the fact that like we talked about this a lot, I think in Queer Monstrosity. Oh no, last week, sorry, with costumes.
Costumes. Never mind.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was the
how
big
like costumes and especially Halloween are like a good way for queer people to like explore like abnormal or literally queer forms of gender expression with like less fear of social repercussion. So that was basically what my article was about. Article, story, whatever. It was like, yeah, it was kind of a manifestation of that. So a simple summary without giving too much away, because you should read it,
True.
is that it's like a queer friend group at your like very basic high school Halloween straight cis party, but they're also trying to cope with, you know, a place where none of them really feel like they belong, also trying to cope with the death of a friend, and they confront a jock in that is his like whole costume is like just a dress, and then they discover something about him that they didn't see before. Whoa, give it a read to figure out what that is.
Fantastic article.
Yes.
And read our
Okay.
articles
Okay.
at
Also, shout out to the
OutWriteNewsmagazine.com.
artists.
That's right, spelled
Yeah,
W-R-I-T-E.
except
Wait, isn't
we
it
are not
.org?
publishing it digitally yet.
Are we .org? Did I
Yes.
say .com?
Yeah.
L.
It's Easy mistake.
Also, shout out to the artists for that piece, Soren and Caden. Because
Oh my god, it was
their
so
first
good!
art
Oh
piece,
my
Their
god!
first art piece for OutWrite, and
Yeah.
both of them did an absolutely
I saw that
phenomenal
graphic and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna die. I
That's
love
good.
people who can draw. That's crazy. Some of them in the room at this moment. Yeah. But anyways, my article is like a very like kind of literal interpretation of the theme, because it is literally on Halloween and they are haunted by a literal dead friend. So
True.
yeah,
And
I
it's
just-
gay.
and it's gay. Love that.
I feel like we should have Mark talk about
Yeah.
the ghosts
Yeah,
that
the
you
ghosts. Oh my god.
Because they were so cute. They were so. I was like, whoa, I didn't know you could draw.
God, and they're so cute.
Yeah, so in general, I'm new to OutWrite, so when I was asked if I could like just draw some like ghosts for the magazine, I was so like excited because I was technically like coming here as a writer, but I
Right.
also wanted to like get involved in some of like the visuals. So I did the inner front cover and the back cover, as well as like the doodles for like the table of contents. And I know that ghosts were like the natural way to go because obviously like Halloween spooky themes, but on a deeper level, I also think that ghosts are great, like you said, for self-expression. And in general, the Halloween season is such a good like outlet for closeted queer people who haven't like figured out their identity yet. So I like that ghosts are like visually they're nothing more than like translucent blobs. But if you like think about why they exist in general, it's like these are people that have lived lives, they have experiences, and they have like stories to tell, and they probably had like their own way of expressing themselves when they were alive, and and the whole idea of ghosts is that even after they die, some essence of them still remains in this world. So particularly for the zine, I wanted to draw them not really having any specific like physical features. I wanted to focus on their emotions and what they were doing. So a lot of the ghosts that I drew were like telling stories, they were expressing themselves, they were like interacting with each other. So even like the table of contents, most of the doodles that I made were ghosts like just positively interacting with each other. There was that one where they were trying on makeup with each other.
That was so
like,
cute.
Oh my god, wait, I
And
don't
one-
remember that one.
And one was like doing it a little worse than the other.
I think.
Oh, was it?
Or was
That would
it?
make sense.
It was for the
Uh,
makeup one?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And then I remember, I think for Brenna's article about like the future, I drew like this sort of older ghost with like a younger ghost, and because I really liked the article, and I thought about how like it feels like there isn't as much of a legacy for queer people, because historically we have been like erased so much, and like with the AIDS epidemic, etc., generations of us have been like slimmed down so much more than like cishet people. So I think when queer people accomplish all these amazing things, it just matters that much more, because younger queer people will now see that and be like, oh, I can do that. This person did it despite the circumstances, and now I can do it. So I think showing that older ghost with like a way more advanced painting, and then like like the little ghost that's just like a childish drawing, I think it was like, I just thought it was a good metaphor for how even the most minuscule accomplishments that queer people make can be such a huge inspiration for like future generations. And yeah, also for the inner front cover.
Was that the campfire?
Yeah, I think it was the
Okay,
campfire.
Cute.
that
You
one
love
was
that one.
Yeah. The campfire, the whole campfire story thing was like another example of self-expression. So it was this ghost like just putting out a story, and I put like the rainbow lines on top of it because I wanted it to represent this ghost putting their true self out there and like expressing themselves to their peers. And I like the ghosts beside them have very like mixed expressions, because I think that's just like realistic for that's realistic with how queer people experience putting themselves out there. But yeah, I think in general I wanted a lot of every single little doodle I made for this zine sort of reflect the queer experience in some way, except for the back cover, because that was just like the ghost,
A little guy.
like the ghost after a splurge of candy. That one I
Yeah,
just
that
wanted to
was
do
cute.
for like the last.
Yeah, so true. I feel like being a little guy is also kind of gay though.
Yes.
It is.
No, and
That's
genuinely,
one of the
I'm really
genders.
thankful that you're tying everything together.
Yeah.
Like it was good without the ghosts, but the ghosts are what like really made it
Yes. The
outstanding.
ribbon on top.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really like tied everything together, and it's pretty cool that you like have a little hand in kind of like everybody's articles. You know,
Yeah.
like that's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't realize you put like so much
Motif.
thought into it. I guess it's just, I'm like not really an artist, so it's
Yeah.
like just very interesting to hear you talk about it
No,
and
it's
how
so
like much deep thought you put into it. Cause yeah, I was like, they're so cute and fruity. But I guess it was deeper than that as
They are very fruity, though.
That too. It can be deep and fruity.
No way.
I was having a thought, and I'm not sure it's specifically related, but I feel like it's an interesting thought, so I might just do it if
Yes.
no one has
Do
any.
it.
Yeah.
I feel like ghosts are a way of sort of expressing the inexpressible. Because it sort of feels like a ghost is what isn't there. Like, a ghost, it's like a figure in a ground, kind of. Like, you know an M.C. Escher painting where it's like...
No.
Like
You know what?
the stairs and stuff.
Yeah, like the stairs and
stairs
stuff. You
one.
have
Oh,
one
the
where it's
confusing
like...
They're
stairs?
confusing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, but I'm actually talking about a different M.C. Escher. He just also did confusing stairs.
Well, he also
Okay,
did
sorry.
confusing hands.
Yeah, he also did hands drawing hands, but there's
And
one
a
where it's
ball.
like blackbirds turning into white birds, and you can't tell in the middle where it changes. Yes, that one.
Oh, I have seen
See,
that.
you've seen that. I'll put
I
it
don't know
on
if it'll
screen for the
actually-
people who don't just habitually know MC Escher paintings. Well, drawings.
Oh, that's rad.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize they were fish too.
Oh,
Yeah,
fish.
birds and
Is
fish.
it
It's
just
like-
like they evolved from fish or something?
No, it's just one of his big
Oh, that'd be
themes.
fun.
He likes weird tessellations.
Tessellations, that's the word.
But for my purposes, it's like kind of one defines the other, but they're still like very different. And I feel that way about ghosts. Because it's like, here's all the things someone used to be, and they aren't that now. So they like don't bear that much relation to one another. But like the fish and the birds, they kind of define one another. I have no idea if what I'm saying makes
So
sense.
is the ghost the
So the
fish
ghost
or the
is-
bird?
I think it's interesting to connect it to that because the ghost is they're both kind of the negative space of each other.
Yeah, exactly.
In that picture. Yeah.
I do think you're making a really good point. I just
Yeah.
couldn't help.
Whoa. I don't know if I'm wrapping my head around it.
It's
So,
pretty
like, you're
tricky.
saying that ghosts are what someone no longer is but used to be?
Well, yeah, because if you're
And
dead, then you're no longer alive.
Right. And so then it's like,
Sure.
there's the
Don't say that.
Wait.
As one does when they're not alive. You know.
I mean, okay.
I just feel like the defining feature of the ghost is like a difference from what was. And a fact that like, I don't know, I feel like the fact that you can't like interact with ghosts normally, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here. It feels
I've
like
never done
that.
a seance, so
Yeah.
I don't know if I can correct you if you're wrong.
It feels like that almost, like the disconnect feels very poignant to me. Especially, and I mean, I can connect this back to queerness and be like, oh, difference from society. Oh, like being on a different time scale. But it just... Look, I don't need to spoon feed the connections here.
Yeah.
It's fine, you see it. I just feel like the fact that a ghost is defined by what it isn't is really interesting. I have no idea to what extent we explore that in the print, but I feel like there's some resonance.
Yeah. That probably mostly ties into like the queer future and queer time part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like,
which
negative
makes sense because like
definition.
that's definitely the part I like the best.
Yeah.
Because I'm silly.
Silly. Theoretical framework.
I love a theoretical framework.
Yeah.
Also, don't even. Last week you were literally like, queer performative theory.
Okay, alright.
Let me just quote Judith Butler.
Judith Butler!
Judith Butler?
Judith
The
Butler
Lord.
entered the chat.
Oh.
The Lord! I was gonna say queen, but that's not accurate.
Yeah, monarch.
Monarch! The monarch! The monarch!
We figured it out.
Amazing. No, genuinely. Don't they work like aren't they in one of the UCs?
Oh,
Or
for
something.
reals?
I think so.
Oh,
Cause
I'm
I'm like,
looking it up.
I'm not like the foremost Judith Butler. I haven't even taken one LGBTQ studies class.
well, your life is, don't worry.
Well, you're...
Sorry.
That was good. Sorry.
True.
That was really loud.
Everyone's studying me like a bug all the time.
Yeah, putting you under a microscope and like angling the sun just the right way.
I'm
There,
like,
right.
oh,
Berkeley.
Yeah,
you got
okay, that
it
sounds
very
right, yeah.
good.
average
Cleveland,
Berkeley.
Ohio.
But would I
No.
be
Another reason for me to dislike Berkeley.
yeah, would I be willing to
They
go to
took
They have
Berkeley?
Judith Butler and we don't.
Because
There's only one Judith Butler.
They beat us in football this Saturday very badly.
Well, I don't really care about that. About
Yeah,
Judith Butler.
I just know because I was at the game.
So
I was
true.
there.
Ah, yes. What do you play again?
Color guard, I do the
Oh,
flags.
color. Oh, nice. Don't you also play an instrument? Why do I feel like you
No.
I
I
really-
played an instrument in like, last time I played an instrument actually was like 7th grade.
I don't know if you were exactly implying this, but I do like the idea that we fear ghosts a lot because they're supposedly dead, or because we don't know, like we can't see who they are beyond just the fact that they're dead or they're they used to be alive. But I feel like I've always been super like emotional about the concept of ghosts because I can't see past the fact that they were alive. They were people at some point, which means they had again, they had lives they lived, they had personalities, they had probably people they loved. So even I never really understood people being afraid of them just because they're dead. Like that's the, at least in my interpretation of what ghosts are like, that's the only difference. So I love watching those ghost hunting videos, like Watcher or something, where they're just like trying to genuinely interact with the ghosts and learn more about them, because that's what I think is really interesting. Not only does it, obviously, they're trying to prove that ghosts are real, but if they are real, they're still expressing themselves beyond the grave, and they sort of, in some cases, they even still linger where they died or where they spent a lot of time. So I just think it's really interesting that we often forget to personify ghosts, and we forget to realize that they're human, or at least they were human too, just in a different form now.
Well, I feel like a strong contributor to that is that, I mean, monsters are personifications of fears, and a lot of times those are like societal fears. Watch or listen to our Queer Vampires episode for more discussion of this. But I feel like ghosts, it's so clearly like people are afraid of being dead.
Yeah.
I mean, so am I. And so I think because there's that fear so inherent into the creation of a monster, that it's very easy to overlook that the premise of it, like it's premised on this being was once a person, which of course is also a classic form of horror. I mean, so is the vampire. Also once a person.
Yeah.
Yeah, zombie.
Yeah,
Anyway.
true. I saw this really great post about like the difference between like what once was a deer never was a deer. So good. Love that one.
Looks like a deer, and then when you get close, you find out it's not actually a deer.
Yeah,
it's something
exactly.
that just looks very similar.
Classic Appalachian horror.
I love Appalachian horror. Oh my god, it's got such. The vibes are fantastic.
I mean, I
Makes
will
me miss
say,
the East Coast. God.
yeah, I will say, driving through like North Carolina, South Carolina, especially up in the mountains,
Yeah.
like it's something else. Like it's like you're going through an apocalypse land. Like speaking of hauntology, like it looks like a haunted place, because sometimes there are like buildings, but like there are no people around. It's just entirely like very, like 1 minute you can be in a town with other people, and then like a couple minutes later you're like in the deep of the forest. It's like, whoa, what happened here? It's like differing, like layered realities.
Oh, layered realities.
I mean, when you think about it, an abandoned building is kind of a ghost.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Having said, I will not elaborate.
Well, it is. Yeah, it's a shell. It's got the same. This was once filled with life, and now there's nobody to define it or take care of it. And so, what does that make it now?
Yeah, because
Other than a shell.
We've mostly been talking about ghosts, like human ghosts, but I do think that a lot of things can be ghosts and echoes that aren't necessarily human, which perhaps is almost scarier in some cases. Like, because then I feel like also some sorts of fear and frustration about ghosts is like the inability to communicate, like across boundaries.
Yeah.
But then it's probably even more frustrating when it's like trying to communicate with something that wasn't even something or someone you once would have been able to communicate with. Like an animal or a building. Or, like, what does it mean for a thing to be haunted?
I feel like I've only ever really. I don't know. When I think of a ghost, it's always in connection to somebody who's still. Like, I feel like I always think of ghosts as. I mean, this is obvious, but like manifestations of like grief. Mm-hmm. And so, like, it always leads back to the person that's still alive and whatever power that they give it, I guess. So I don't know. I've never really thought about.
That's crazy because for me, it's definitely like. It's the ghost. It's like okay.
It's the ghost.
No, like the ghost story is about the ghost.
I agree though. Yeah.
Like it's not that someone's grief is tethering the someone who's is alive. Their grief is tethering the ghost. It's like the ghost's unwillingness to leave the human world, even if it like sucks and you can't communicate, and so on and so forth. Like to me, that's the key tension. Like you're trying to get this being to leave who doesn't want to leave.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that kind of aspect of like the ghost is like a vengeful like like figure is kind of interesting too, because I mean, I don't know, like I haven't done research on this myself, but I heard like in the same kind of realm of like the ghost being like trying to make up for like injustices that the ghost, like the person who used to be the ghost used to be experienced during their life, and trying to like make amends for that or like get justice for themselves. Is kind of like tying back to like what I heard about like zombies is I heard that like zombies were originally like came from like African like mythology, but they were kind of like turned into like this scary like figure by like white like slave owners and stuff, because they were afraid of like the slaves who like enslaved people who like were killed and lost during like the passage and like, you know, on plantations and stuff, coming back up as like these vengeful creatures like to like kill them, and the sheer number was what like terrified them. And so I don't know, I feel like there's something there with like ghosts too, because I don't know, I feel like especially in like Asian ghost stories, they're always like vengeful and stuff. Especially in like Korean horror, I don't know.
Okay,
I don't read it because I'm like terrified, but
Also, like, A Christmas Carol, though, you know?
yeah.
Like, stop doing mean things or the ghosts will get you.
Oh wait, like Scrooge?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
one? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the
I didn't
ghosts.
know that's what that movie was called. But damn.
Book. Short story? Book?
Maybe.
Book.
Is it a book?
Christmas
Okay,
Carol's a
cool.
book. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a book.
I think a similar thing happened with like mummies, because like in Egyptian tradition, they've always just been like a normal way to like send off the dead and like wish them a good like afterlife. But once they and I think in the 1920s, when I think either American or British explorers came to dig up King Tut's grave, that's what started the whole like craze about, oh, mummies are these like vengeful spirits, or they'll
No, it's sorry, but that's also crazy, because for like
Yeah.
100 or 200 years before that, mummies were an important ingredient in like some medicines.
yeah.
Like they were out there
Got
eating
eaten.
mummies.
Yeah.
You're eating them.
So they were. So it started the whole idea that, oh, there's like the curse of the mummy or whatever. But I just think in a similar way that this was just a manifestation of the, I guess, subconscious guilt that maybe the explorers felt
Yeah, that's
for
what I was
digging
gonna
up this
say.
like ancient
I thought
pharaoh's
some of them
grave.
died, and that's why.
Yeah.
They're-
Oh,
Yeah, they got
you
sick
know
and they
what?
died.
It probably goes back to microbiology. There was probably some fucking viruses
Yeah,
in there.
yeah.
No way.
But yeah, I think they subconsciously made up that story because they kind of feel guilty inside for digging up some random person's grave.
See, I'd like to think that, but I don't think so. There's a lot of grave robbing. I'm taking
Just in
I'm
general?
taking a museum studies
Maybe
class,
not
and
like guilt, but
goddamn,
like fear.
NAGPRA?
Yeah, fear that it'll come back
Yeah,
to
because
them.
like
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
at least because if you're connecting to what like I was saying, it was like not like guilt that they like enslaved people, but more like fear
Yeah.
of like the
Yeah.
consequences of like, you know, doing that
Their
to like, another
actions.
person
Yeah,
or
exactly.
culture.
Consequences.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
gonna have
Damn,
consequences for
Yeah.
you.
I did something maybe kind of messed up, and I don't really feel bad about it, but like,
What if the
Other
It
people
could have
did-
repercussions.
it could
Yeah.
have, other people could make me feel bad about it. Like being aware that other people like hate you for what you do, and so you fear vengeance being taken upon you because you realize to some extent that what you're doing, even if you don't think it's wrong, somebody else thinks it's wrong.
Right, yeah, and also, yeah, they talk about, like, how, like, once you push someone down and you keep your, like, foot on them, you have to keep your foot there. You have to keep, like, putting your foot on them.
Yeah.
Because otherwise
Actually-
they're gonna, like, be fucking pissed.
Get up and cut off your feet.
Yeah, exactly.
Why do I feel like there's a ghost story related to that?
Cutting off your feet?
Never mind. Sorry,
Having-
that's Morrowind. Sorry, never mind. Sorry.
I was like, Cinderella?
That's what
But
the
to
song
be
about.
fair, isn't Morrowind like basically everything is deserted except for this? There's like some group that has the plague. I'm sorry, I watched a video essay about a different game that compared it briefly to Morrowind.
No, there is a plague. There is a plague.
I'm not aware of
Um,
this.
And you are kind of, I mean, I could technically write an essay about
Oh,
Morrowind
Elder
Hauntology.
Scrolls. Okay.
Yeah,
I
Elder
see,
Scrolls.
I see.
I wrote, it was my first article.
And we had a
Oh my
hell of a
God,
time
wait,
getting
yeah,
a copy
wait.
editor for it because no one knew what Morrowind was.
That's true, I remember that.
But the idea of like a haunting, like expectations haunting you and like a past life haunting you, because the idea is that you are potentially maybe the reincarnation. The main character is the reincarnation of like a guy who lived way long ago. And
That's
so they're
crazy.
haunted by like this person who they never knew, and like haunted by the expectations that all these different people are putting on them.
That's so Wheel of Time coded.
Oh.
Oh.
I don't know this one either.
No, it's So She Who Became the Sun coded, which is way better.
Yeah, that's true. Wheel of Time is kind of mid, so I'm sure that's way better.
I'm a
'cause
Wheel of Time hater.
Yeah, it is mid.
That wheel should stop turning.
That's what they want, I guess. The evil guys.
Well, they were right.
Damn.
No, the book is like, I read the first book, it was really boring.
Well, the wheel stopped turning because the original author died.
Well, then Brandon
like-
Sanderson put the
and
wheel on his back and said, "This fucker's gonna keep on turning."
And apparently he did a better job than the original.
I mean, he probably did. He's Brandon Sanderson.
So the last 3 books are really solid of the
Brandon?
15-book series.
I've read
14.
one of Brandon
Okay,
Sanderson's
maybe
books.
14.
I would
It's
lay
a
down my
lot.
life for him.
Many of them.
Okay, Morrowind.
Morrowind, yeah.
The
Are you
Weight of
done
Expectations.
talking about Morrowind?
I mean, okay, I guess I should explain why the cutting off the feet part is related.
I forgot that was our segue.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that too.
Sorry, but it's because what the guy who you were supposedly reincarnated from, like, he was betrayed. So also the vengeance. You are the vengeance, potentially, for all these people who, like, betrayed you and stabbed you in the back. But they cut off his feet and they ripped off his face. And
Gross.
there's
Goodness.
lore reasons behind that, because that's how it makes sense that you, as the player character, can be any of the playable races and any of the playable classes. Because you can walk any path and wear any face.
Whoa.
Yeah, I remember you told me that was
So it's
deep.
like the haunting is being carried by a variety, like an endless iterations of people of different like races and different classes and different experiences who are coming back and essentially, although you're also being haunted by like your dead-ish ex-lover, so who's not technically your lover, but like.
But if you're good at
What the fuck
reading.
can I do this happening?
Yeah, if you're good at reading, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we should talk about Belzy's article. I know they're not here, but like
Oh
that
my
is like
God.
everything we've been talking about
Dude.
because it's about like that concept of it's so good.
It's so good.
It's
oh my
so
god.
It wrecked me.
I read it and
Yeah.
I literally, it made me tear up. I started crying. It was
Understandable.
fun.
Oh yeah, I
Oh
was
my god.
crying too, yeah.
When I read the second half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, without like giving away. Well, I feel like you can't really like not spoil it, but
You can
it's-
explain the premise, I guess.
yeah, the premise is like essentially like one side is the compet life, where it's like marrying a man, having children, and like being fucking miserable because you're
Yeah.
gay.
Knowing it's
and-
wrong.
Exactly, and then the second column is like the story of like like a sapphic love and like growing as a person into like something you're not sure where it's going, but you like know it's right, and like being excited about like finding out what that is, and like loss being worth it when you love, and like that kind of thing. But I feel like it's just like captures that like queer experience of like kind of what you were hinting at in the beginning of being haunted by potential futures because of like what could have happened in the past. Especially since like tying in queer time, it's like as queer people you're already going off the path, and so when you choose like a different, like an alternative future that you create, like a queer futurity, you're haunted by like the cis heteronormative like future that could have happened if you hadn't chosen to like embrace your like true self and
The
like
parallel life.
follow your exactly
That you can always kind of see.
Mhm.
It's always kind of like
And it's
dogging your
haunting you.
footsteps.
And I feel like honestly, even if you don't, because obviously there are people who like, well, probably there are people who like never come out, and then there are people who come out like much later in life. And I feel like even then you're still like haunted by like what the queer future that you could have, like the queer life
Yeah.
you could have been living as well. Like the flip side is also true.
Yeah, because like when you're closeted, you're definitely especially like seeing other queer people who are like happy and kind of like doing their own thing. You're always gonna be thinking like, what if that were me? Like, could I have that? Like, could that be a thing that I could pursue? But then you're also kind of like denying yourself that future because it's scary, and you don't know if you could have that future or the bad ending.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Especially since like the queer future is often something that's like, I don't know. Like I read this, I don't remember who it was written by, but it was an article about like queer time and stuff, and how like as like queer people we shouldn't be trying to like lay out what queer futures or like what queer time is, and box it in, because like the beauty of like queerness is that it's like undefined and it's just anything that's like non-normative. And I feel like that's another reason why it's so hard. But I feel like that's what we were trying to do with the print. Is like look forward and be like, what could some of those possibilities be, but like without limiting it at the same time.
Yeah. Not trying to like box it in, but trying to be like trying to unboxing video. Oh god! This is queer time. Like kind of by defining it and by giving words to it, bringing in alternate potentials and alternate paths. Not like trying to define it, not to limit it, not to like go like this, but to go like
to manifest
to be the
it
and then you see this and you
Please
go
describe it in words for those people who are not watching on YouTube.
True. Not to like start out broadly and then go to like a very thin like or a very skinny like this definition. Narrow thing. Narrow is the word that I'm trying to but to like
a skinny legend.
but to start from where we are and then to kind of be given alternate words and definitions and then like really have a widened, broadened understanding of like futures.
Yeah,
like
as many
examples.
stars in the sky.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, I feel like that's the other thing about queer futures. I feel like in that realm, like seeing people have seeing people have what your future could be is like a very meaningful thing for a lot of people, and a lot of what is very sad about not obviously about these people not being alive, but also for younger generations not having older queer people to look forward to makes it difficult to see yourself in a queer future because there's like nothing for you to base it on, so it's like even scarier, and then you're like, oh well, can this even happen because I've never seen it.
Yeah, I feel like that's like what you were talking about in the beginning of the like
Yeah.
the pictures. Yeah, because that's like such a real like queer experience. It's like you can't. It's so hard to like be something until you see someone say that it's possible.
Yeah.
Or live in a way that it's possible.
Yeah.
I think it's so true that even just one person that you can relate to can have such a big impact on your life. Like coming from the Philippines where barely anyone even knows what being trans is, I felt so alone for the longest time because I genuinely did not know anyone else who was like a trans guy. And then I remember at one of my first like Model UN conferences, I was just expecting it to be so normal, but suddenly I met the only other trans masked person I'd ever seen in that country, and I can't express enough how much it changed my life. We did not talk after that for years. We never even kept contact, but just knowing that they were there and knowing that I could get into a future like that was so inspiring, and I think that was what triggered me to keep going with the rest of my Model UN career. And then in my senior year, when I organized a conference for my school, and we invited like a bunch of other schools, I made it like a big point to have like your preferred pronouns and preferred name on the sign-up sheet. And because I just never seen that done at any other conference, and I thought it might be helpful to add. I just thought it was like just like the right thing to do. I wasn't actually expecting any like queer people to come, but suddenly I think I introduced myself as like Mark at that conference when I was giving a speech, and I heard like audible gasps in the crowd. And then I think after the conference, when I was I was messaged or emailed by 3 different younger trans people who had attended that conference, and they were like, you are the first trans Model UN Secretary General I've ever seen. And that that made me cry so much, because I remember it took one person for me to carry on with this passion for years. And now these newbies are coming in and they see me, and now they will also know that with enough hard work they will be able to achieve things like that too. And it was just so amazing to go from being inspired to being the inspiration.
That's so nice. That's so sweet.
God.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I feel like that's so important. And I'm so glad you got to experience that and that you like saw that person and like those people expressed it to you.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you touch people and you don't know, but that's like really
Yeah,
special
yeah,
that
yeah.
they reached out to you.
Yeah.
Slay.
I love that. Becoming the future that you always wanted to have.
Yeah.
Oh, slay.
I feel
So
like
wonderful.
that's kind of what I want when I say like, oh, we should like normalize queerness. I don't mean it should be like normal or like.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it should be normal.
That
You know what I mean?
queerness shouldn't be normal according to the norm, but
Yeah, but that there should be like options for
Yes.
queer people.
Mhm.
There shouldn't be like invisibility or enforced like assimilation into like the cis heteropatriarchal like narrative. Like there should be options. There should be like an awareness of the like different possibilities, the way that straight people also have like
right.
different possibilities.
Yeah. I also really love that story because I feel like it brings up like not only the, because we've been talking a lot about queer time, but I feel like that also brings up like what you said, like talks a lot about like queer space and being being connected across space
is this
and
like the void of space or like literal like distance?
like literal distance, like you know,
Okay.
like Wrinkle in Time, how you like fold
No.
if you have like space and you fold it in
never
half
read it.
and you
I
poke
read
a hole through. Well, okay, if you imagine space as like the way the analogy they used was like if you imagine space as a flat sheet of paper, they used it as like teleportation or like wormholes or whatever. You make a wrinkle, you fold it in half, and then you poke a hole through, and that's like a wormhole or whatever,
Yeah.
right? That's how they explained it. But I feel like that's also like, you know, the way that like you were saying, like, you know, you didn't contact them, but you knew that they were out there. So in that way,
Yeah.
it was kind of like folding the paper or like drawing a line across it. That's just, I don't know. I think
Aw.
that's wonderful. I love being community and connected. You haven't talked about your article yet.
Yeah, come on.
Oh, so true. I feel like we kind of talked about it in the vampire.
Yeah, that's
podcast.
true.
Yeah, like, talk about it some more.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm kind of unrelated to like the actual hauntology theoretical aspect. I kind of went more with the like it's Halloween theme,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm gonna talk about queer
Yeah.
monstrosity.
That was one of the other themes, though. It was like
Yeah.
incorporated.
Which I feel like also ties in with because the only other article we haven't mentioned was Emery's, right?
Yeah.
Because Emery and I think took like a similar route because Emery has like a great list of like queer horror films and television shows, I believe are the two types of media on it. And so that one's really fun and just like great to go down if you are looking for fruity horror things. I don't like horror, but you know. And then I wrote about Interview with the Vampire, which, you know, is the vampire show adapted from Anne Rice's, yeah.
Sorry.
Are we
I'll
a hater?
explain why I'm anti-Anne Rice after the
Isn't she
show.
the one who like sued people for fan fiction?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
she's great.
woo!
But she did write fruity vampires, and they made them like actually fruity in the show, unlike subtext fruity, as in the movie,
As
which
in
was
Tom
also
Cruise
kind of
and Brad
racist.
Pitt.
Um,
interesting.
but yeah, no. So I basically talked about queer monstrosity and like the vampire as like an analogy for like queerness, and then also what it looks like to meet someone who has like embraced like the monstrous aspects of queerness and how that can be both like freeing and like opening you up to new possibilities through like queer love and like queer modeling, like mentorship and like that kind of stuff, but also how often in environments where it's very like homophobic and like that kind of thing, like queerphobic, it's easy to become like almost too caught up in like the one or two other like queer people there are, and that can lead to like toxicity because like people haven't worked through their issues and like you're the only other person to turn to, and how like that's why queer like community is important instead of tethering yourself to like one individual person.
So true.
Yeah.
That's the Interview with the Vampire.
And that's Interview with the Vampire. Well,
True.
yeah. There's other things that happen too. They like adopt a child.
We'll get
Oh,
to
I love
that.
that.
Yeah, I was like
Yeah.
unhinged.
I feel like they would maybe not be good parents. Just a
They were
vibe.
not.
They're not.
Oh.
You've seen the show, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they turned a child into a vampire.
Yeah.
Turn a child into a
Oh, that's how they adopted the kids by
Yep.
turning it into a vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right,
They
all
adopted
right.
a normal child.
It's definitely an improvement from the movie, which was, I think, more toxic. But I think even in the show, there are some kind of like you can tell it's at least a little toxic, just the way that they're not communicating and they're not treating the child like parents are treating it like a pet or something.
Yeah.
So it's not. It's an improvement definitely, but still some kinks to work out.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, I think the way they have, like, the common mindset of, like, I just want to be a parent because I, like, want a child
Yeah.
to have a child, and not because, like, I want to, like, care for another person and don't care, like, what if they don't match up with, like, my ideal vision, because they're very much like, she should be this, and then she isn't, and then they're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Why are you like this?
Yeah. Just so, they're so silly. Gay people are so silly, good for you. But I do believe in more gay roles in gay media, because we
Facts.
need both.
Yeah.
I believe in levitating gay vampire sex.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
that's
true.
what that one. Okay, I was wondering if that was the show.
Yep.
Because we
It
talked
is
about
the
that during
show.
the vampire. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always
Vampire
have to bring it up. I have to
Of
bring it up.
course.
Yeah, I don't know. Good show. I know I said this in the other podcast ep too, but I'm really glad they made Louis black, because I feel like
Yes.
that remedied a lot of the issues that the movie had, and it also added to like the othering aspect, but in a way why he's like so he identifies with, but is also terrified of like the monster figure.
The show was set in. Was the movie also set in like New Orleans or?
I'm not sure, but like in the movie, Louis is like a white slave owner, so it's like, well,
There's a big improvement there.
yeah, so I was like, it's good that they instead chose to be, let's empathize with marginalized people's struggles and show how we can empathize with them, even though society views them as monstrous.
That's terrible.
Yeah, no, I was so speechless. I was like, huh? Because I'd seen the show before I watched the movie.
Oh no.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
That's awkward. Anyways, that's Interview with the Vampire.
True.
So true. Do we want to talk about why Halloween is gay some more?
Sure. Also,
'Cause
Loki.
I was.
Oh.
Oh no, Loki.
No, I was gonna go back to Ghost. Because I was just gonna say, like, I just want to know what everyone's conceptions of ghosts are, because I feel like we're all on different pages.
I know.
Not in a
Yeah.
bad way. Not in a bad way. It's like, it's just interesting though,
Different
because I didn't
perspectives, yeah.
realize there were like so many ways to think about ghosts.
Yeah.
Okay, Brandon, start.
I mean, honestly, none of what you guys are talking about is unfamiliar to me. Like,
Okay.
I've never been a horror movie kid, but I was always interested in like kind of like vampire ghost, like kind of hunting things. What was it? It was called like the Lockwood something.
Lockwood and Co.
Lockwood and Co. Yes, Lockwood and Co.
Okay.
Yeah. So like that was some
I
idea.
didn't
So,
know that was a ghost hunting show.
or sorry, it wasn't a show. It was like a.
Blue. It's a show now though.
It's a show.
But they
now.
canceled it like immediately.
That's disappointing.
Damn.
Yeah. Netflix
But
show.
that was like a very European idea of like
Making a
ghosts.
spin-off.
Really?
What you're
Yeah, they're making a spin-off with like the brothers or something. I forget. I don't know.
Oh. But that was such a long time ago. But like I feel like because I was like into like not like scary stories, but like that sort of ghost story, like kind of like the lore of ghosts and also like fairies. And those kind of overlap. Like fairies, ghosts, and vampires all kind of have similar things in terms of like, oh, the silver or the salt or the whatever. Like they
Right.
kind of overlap. And also just folklore in general, because I've read a lot of things, so I just have like everything that you guys were saying. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, no, that tracks like onto something that I've read or like seen. But I did think it was interesting that I was also curious as to like where people were coming from, because I could sense like a lot of different perspectives. And what I like about ghosts is that there's like a multiplicity of interpretations, and I think that they all can be right and coexist.
I guess I was like, damn, I've kind of got like the bleeding heart one, because I'm like, oh, they're like sad. But
True.
I guess I'm thinking about my own thought process, and I was thinking about it like the psychological aspect of why people believe in ghosts, or like why folklore about ghosts exist, in the sense that like, first of all, like reflecting fears of your own mortality, but then also of not wanting to let go of the people that you love even after they're gone. And so that's where, like, you know, the veil between, you know, even when ghosts remain, you still can't fully communicate with them, and they're still very different from you and very much still out of your reach. And so the only way to really, like, I feel like the resolution is always to let them go, and it's always to, like, help them get where they need to go and help them accept the fact that they need to move on, whether that is the person mourning them that needs to move on or the ghost themselves that, you know, that needs to move on. I also just think about, like, Haunting of Bly Manor. Fuck. Oh my god.
That's gay people.
Oh my god, that's gay people. Oh my god. All right.
I think a lot of how I feel about ghosts is related to the fact that even, like, for as long as I can remember, I've been like obsessed with history. So a lot of the things I view are from the perspective are from like a historical perspective. So when I'm thinking about ghosts, I'm not really thinking about, oh, they're dead, they're or what possible like intentions they could have. It's more of, these were people that were once alive. What were their lives like? Who were they as people? How did they feel? What did they live through, etc. So I've just always thought more about the person behind the ghost rather than the fact that they are ghosts. So again, I don't know why, but I've just found it really hard to necessarily see them as inherently evil entities, because to me it's always just been, they were people. Who were they? So, yeah.
So I feel like I'm a lot like you, but less empathetic.
Yeah. Kill those buggers.
I feel like I also really like history, but not that
Yeah,
a
history major.
Yeah, hi, I'm a history major.
Oh. Are you a history major?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I feel like maybe it's just that I'm such a skeptic, but like none of that is related to ghosts for me. Because the other part is that I really hate spooky stuff. Like, I am just the world's most horror wimp. Can't do it at all.
Real.
But I really like narrative.
Yeah.
Like, I fucking love story. So I feel like, for me, a ghost, like, the central question is, like, why is this ghost a ghost and not just, like, a dead person? And for me, that always comes back to, like, a driving want. Like a consuming want. Like, a ghost is basically just a character motivation given an unfleshly body.
I like that interpretation.
I feel like that can be, like, corrosive, like, bad kind of want, but it can also just be kind of very neutral.
Interesting.
That
Anyway,
may
Rainer, you
change.
started this. No.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, like, I guess I've always, like, had a more, like, humanized conception of ghosts, where it was, like, driven usually by some sort of, like, want or, like, unfinished business. But it was, like, interesting. I guess, like, the reason why I wanted to ask was because I felt like I was hearing some people talk about ghosts in the concept of, like, more, maybe what you're saying, where it's, like, they become, like, more of an echo of themselves than, like, a fully fleshed, like, person.
Oh yeah, so we're clear. In my opinion, a ghost is a narrative device.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, that's why I was, like, interested to hear, like, what people had to say. Because, like, yeah, I've definitely, like, heard people talk about it that way. But I guess, like, I've always just thought of them as, like, people who are just dead now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then that was, like, interesting to me because, yeah, I think there's definitely, like, different ways to think about ghosts.
I mean, certainly there are different ways to think about it, the same way a werewolf can be, like, either a creature of the night who's gonna kill you, or just sort of, like, a
your
furry.
boyfriend.
Where can I find a werewolf boyfriend?
Werewolf boyfriend.
Good question.
Yeah, anyway, sorry, that was my tangent. We can talk about why Halloween's gay, but I don't know how much time we have left.
Not really any.
Okay, awesome.
I mean, if you think about it, like, Halloween scares Christians.
Gay people.
Gay people.
There we
Connected the
go.
dots.
and like paganism scares Christians.
No,
I
actually,
thought that it was
what
originally
I
a
was
Christian holiday.
gonna say
Yeah.
earlier
Yeah.
is that Halloween is a socially sanctioned occasion for social disorder, which
Oh.
includes expressions of queerness.
I love that.
Wait.
You can tell I'm
You
serious
ate that
because
out.
I'm
You can egg
pointing.
someone's house.
Yeah.
You can.
You can pull pranks and stuff,
Yeah, you can be a little silly.
and you can dress as the most like bloody, horrific things possible.
Yeah.
Including gay people.
Like,
Including
yeah.
There we go, the connection. Bloody and horrific and
The
gay.
doctor wedding.
Love it.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
You don't mind if I wrap it up?
Not at
Yeah,
all.
sounds good.
Thank you all so much for listening. You have been watching Speak Out. I'm JQ.
I'm Rainer.
I'm Mark.
I'm Emma.
I'm Brenna.
You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, the website formerly known as Twitter. Emma, stop laughing at
Hey!
You can read our articles at OutWriteNewsmag.org. That's right, spelled WRITE. You can pick up our print on newsstands all around UCLA campus,
OMG.
and also a couple other places. I think we're sending them out to the LGBT Resource Center in Los Angeles as well.
And
Give
the
it a
one on
read.
campus.
And the one on campus. Give it a read. It's super good. You will not regret it. Have a lovely night. Bye.
Bye.